We're going to be looking at 5 realistic targets for free agency for the Indiana Fever. We are working under the assumption that these 3 are coming back. Lexi's coming back. Sophie's coming back. That is the assumption that I'm working with, because if Kelsey goes, then clearly...
Working off assumptions, that's the real nightmare scenario Indiana Fever fans should be paying attention to, while everyone is wrapped up in debates about whether Kelsey Mitchell will stay or head elsewhere. A far more critical issue is slipping by unnoticed. What happens if the Fever waste Caitlin Clark's entire rookie contract by doubling down on the wrong supporting cast?
Player is a backup center, and I think Demiris Dantas' time at the Fever is probably done. I don't see Dantas playing with the Fever again, if I'm being honest. I think Bree Turner's not good enough. I just think in general Bree Turner's not good enough. So for me,
Elizabeth Williams is now 33 and coming off a difficult season in Chicago, where the sky collapsed in spectacular fashion. But here's the part the stats sheet won't reveal. Angel Reese actually posted stronger defensive metrics when Williams shared the court with her compared to when Camila Cardardo was on the floor. Williams finished the year converting nearly half her attempts and brought the type of seasoned presence that locker room desperately needed. The real discussion isn't whether she can anchor a second unit, because she clearly can. The real question is whether Indiana can secure her on a near minimum deal after that chaotic Chicago season crushed her market value. If they manage it, this could end up being one of the sneakily smartest offseason moves out there.
But this would be one of my things where I'm like, I don't hate the Fever doing this, but I don't see them doing it. So the Indiana Fever had a player a couple of years ago that is the perfect player, a much better version of Natasha Howard, but it will cost quite a lot of money to keep her, and it's Temi. I still think Temi is the perfect power forward to play beside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. We saw it. The lineup of Caitlin Clark, Lexi Hull, Temi, Aaliyah, and
just 2 seasons ago, the lineup of Caitlin Clark, Lexi Hull, Tammy Fagbane, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell graded out as the most efficient 5-player group in the entire league. And what was Indiana's response? They let Tam walk. She went to Golden State, retooled her jumper, stayed consistently available, and turned into exactly the kind of stretch 4 the Fever have been chasing ever since. Now she's entering restricted free agency. The Valkyries must keep their whole core intact under tight expansion team financial constraints, while Indiana finally has meaningful cap space. The math is straightforward. What isn't straightforward is Indiana's front office having to admit they made a major mistake letting her go.
I have a weird feeling if they flame out on their A option, Natasha Howard on a near max contract is coming back, and I don't think you have a championship. I don't think you can win a championship with Natasha Howard starting and Michaela Timpson as her backup. I don't think you can win a championship with that, because there are too many games. Natasha Howard is either brilliant or absolutely terrible, and the problem is that Natasha Howard does not play well with Caitlin Clark. So if the Fever are planning on winning with Caitlin...
Here's the truth. Most people avoid acknowledging about Natasha Cloud. She just doesn't fit with Caitlin Clark on the floor. The numbers show it clearly. When they share the court, spacing shrinks, defensive assignments slip, and the offense comes to a standstill. Cloud is either incredible or disastrous. No in between, and there's no reliable way to predict which version shows up. So if Indiana truly wants to build a roster that amplifies Clark's strengths, giving Cloud anything close to max money makes no sense. But if the Fever miss on every top-tier free agent, there's a very real possibility they convince themselves to run it back anyway. And that's exactly how a championship window shuts before it ever gets a chance to open.
Either of them can slide in. Aaliyah can slide in about the 4 if she gets the 3 ball. Temi can slide into 4, obviously. And then Sophie can slide up to the 4. So for me, that's your perfect rotation. Then you've got KK Timpson as a player. I'm absolutely fine with those 5 players sharing the 4-5. But it's going to cost quite a bit to get Temi out of Golden State. I do think in general that that Golden State, because they have to keep basically their whole team. Almost their entire team are free agents. So it's not going to be hard to well, not it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy to keep all their players together.
Pulling Tammy Fagbenley away from Golden State would cost the Fever roughly 3/4 of a max contract. That's a big investment for someone who wore an Indiana jersey only 2 years ago. But compare that cost to the alternative. Miss out on Tam, and suddenly, Natasha Cloud returns, Michaela Onyenware remains locked in as the backup, and the Fever essentially repeat the same roster that exited in round 1. Now picture the opposite scenario. A front court rotation of Elizabeth Williams, Tammy Fagbenley, and Aaliyah Boston at the 4 and 5 with Christy Wallace as the emergency option. That's premium depth. That's the type of interior group that can stand up to Las Vegas and New York. But none of it happens unless Indiana spends aggressively right now during Caitlin Clark's rookie contract window, when they have the most financial flexibility they'll ever possess.
Who had a disaster season for Chicago. An absolute disaster season. But it all depends on whether you believe that this is Beck Allen or whether you believe that the Chicago Sky is a shit show. I think it's the latter. I think Beck Allen as a bench option is unbelievable. Is absolutely unbelievable. I genuinely think that Beck Allen could be a 6th player of the year candidate. She can play the 4, she can play the 3. She shoots the shit out of the ball. And people don't realize that. He genuinely...
Last season, Rebecca Allen exploded for 27 points in a must-win game against Dallas. 27 points Chicago literally could not have survived without. And what followed? Tyler Marsh benched her. After that, her minutes bounced all over the map, and the entire Sky operation unraveled into full-blown chaos. But look at her Phoenix stretch. 7.4 points per game, 36% shooting from deep, 42% overall. Those are rock-solid bench numbers. And remember, she was a starter for a Connecticut Sun squad that came within inches of the finals, playing for Stephanie White, the same coach now leading Indiana. Allen's jumper is clean, leave her open, and it's money. Right now, she's trying to rebuild her trajectory after the Chicago mess, which places her right in the range for a minimum deal, with legitimate starting upside.
Part of the season. Like, if you look at game logs, like, there were games in Chicago, and that was the problem with her in Chicago, was the inconsistency. But if you look at games at the start of the year, she had 7 against the Fever, 11-11, didn't do much in this game, but 13-7-8. Like, that's nearly 10 points a game starting the season. Then had a big lull. They had 27 points in a win against Dallas, in a win where all 27 of those points were pretty much needed. Had a good, an okay run for a few games. It was just an inconsistency from Tyler Marsh.
Burke knocked down 41% of her threes and hit 46% from the field last season. But one tough playoff stretch sent her value crashing fast. With the Liberty needing to make difficult cap decisions, they simply can't keep everyone. Burke may be the player they let go to preserve the core around Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu. She's a true 3-and-D wing, an archetype that's surprisingly rare in the WNBA. She can defend positions 2 through 4, moves far quicker than most expect, and gave Caitlin Clark serious problems in their first matchup. And because her postseason slump cratered her market value, Indiana may be able to grab her for a steal.
It's not going to be easy for New York Liberty to afford to keep their team together. And Kennedy Burke might be one of those players they lose. The likes of Kennedy Burke, Izzy Harrison, they might have to pick and choose. If they want to keep Natasha Cloud, maybe they choose Izzy Harrison and say, you know what, we don't need Kennedy Burke. Kennedy Burke's not going to be cheap, because I do think she brings a lot of value in that 3-and-D role, which is a weirdly uncommon archetype, and it's an archetype that you need. She's a better defender than Beck Allen. I'm not gonna say she's a better shooter. She's a better wide open shooter than Beck Allen.
Letitia Amy brings non-stop energy every time she steps on the floor. She plays with fire, crashes the glass, runs the lanes, and disrupts everything. Her shooting still needs refining, but she's already a more polished version of Michaela Onyenware, thanks to her length, defensive range, and ability to switch across several system positions. She fits seamlessly into modern lineups. The only question is whether the Valkyries view her as a long-term piece or prioritize others instead. If Indiana can land her on a budget contract, she becomes the perfect utility forward, capable of playing spots 3 through 5. And next to Caitlin Clark, that athleticism becomes even more dangerous in transition. This brings us to the larger point. Indiana's front office must understand this offseason. Caitlin Clark is on a rookie deal for the next 3 years. This is the title window. This is the moment when a generational player makes far less than her true value, giving you the financial room to load talent around her. The biggest mistake the Fever could make isn't overspending on Tammy Fagman-Lay, it's bringing back the same roster that fell in round 1 and convincing themselves that internal growth will magically fix spacing issues and defensive breakdowns. Elizabeth Williams at 33 is the perfect veteran minimum signing. She's steady, efficient around 50%, defends well, and knows her role. After Chicago's meltdown crushed her value, this is when a smart team pounces. But she's depth, not the needle. Mover, the true swing piece, is Tammy Benley. Golden State wants to keep her, but as a new franchise, maintaining their entire front court under expansion constraints is nearly impossible. If Indiana offers her 3/4 of a max contract, the Valkyries likely can't match without tearing apart other pieces. Tam improved her jumper, stayed healthy, and fits beautifully next to Clark in Boston. The lineup data from 2 years ago already showed how dangerous that 5-woman unit was. And Tam is even better today. Indiana already let her go once. And that's the reality Indiana cannot afford to ignore. This offseason isn't just another checklist of moves. It's the moment that defines the future of the franchise. With Caitlin Clark on a rookie contract and the clock already ticking, every decision matters. The Fever can either stay passive and watch their window slam shut, or step up, spend aggressively, and finally build the roster that can compete with the league's elite. One thing is certain, the fans see what's possible, the numbers prove what's missing, and the opportunity in front of Indiana won't last forever. Now it's all on the front office. The next few months will determine everything. Stay tuned, because this story is just getting started.